6 months ago, I was a 28-year-old graphic designer living in a cramped studio apartment, splitting ramen packets to make them last 3 meals. Today, I'm sitting in a 12-bedroom mansion that apparently belongs to me, wondering how my life became a cautionary tale about sudden wealth. The call that changed everything. It started with a phone call from a lawyer whose name I didn't recognize. "Are you Sarah Mitchell, great-niece of Evelyn Hartwell?" I almost hung up, thinking it was a scam. Great-Aunt Evelyn was this mysterious family figure I'd met maybe twice at funerals. She was the eccentric one who never married, lived alone in some big house upstate, and sent $20 Christmas cards with handwritten notes about her cats. Turns out, those cats had better taste than I realized. The estate is worth approximately $50 million. $50 million. A 47-acre property with a main house, guest house, stables, vineyards, and apparently a small lake. Plus investments, art collections, antiques, and enough vintage wine to stock a restaurant for decades. I literally laughed when the lawyer first told me, then asked if he was sure he had the right Sarah Mitchell. The first 48 hours were surreal. I drove up to see the property, used the key the lawyer gave me, and walked through rooms that looked like they belonged in a museum. Persian rugs that cost more than my annual salary, oil paintings of stern-looking ancestors I'd never heard of, and a library with first-edition books I was afraid to touch. I found myself crying in the conservatory, not from joy, but from being completely overwhelmed. The family celebration. Word travels fast in families, apparently faster than I anticipated. I hadn't even told anyone yet when my phone started buzzing. My mom called first. "Sarah, honey, we heard the wonderful news. We're so happy for you." Then my dad, then my brother Jake, then cousins I hadn't spoken to since high school graduation. At first, it felt nice. For about a week, I was the family golden child. Everyone wanted to grab coffee, catch up, hear all about Aunt Evelyn's lovely gift. My cousin Michelle, who used to make fun of my second-hand clothes, suddenly invited me to her book club. My brother, who never returned my calls, was texting me daily memes and just checking in. But the congratulations started coming with suggestions. "You know, Sarah, Jake's been working so hard on his startup. Maybe you could help him out with some seed money?" Michelle was saying how you could turn part of the estate into a wedding venue. She knows someone who could help you get started. "Your Uncle Dave is having trouble with his mortgage." Just a thought. When helpful became hostile. The real shift happened at my cousin Rebecca's birthday party about 3 weeks after the inheritance. I thought it would be nice to attend, to show that I was still the same Sarah despite the windfall. Instead, I walked into what felt like a business networking event where I was the only investor. My aunt pulled me aside within 10 minutes. "Rebecca's been looking at houses, but the market is so tough for young people. You're so lucky to have all that space. Maybe she could stay in the guest house while she saves up?" When I hesitated, her tone shifted. "I mean, Evelyn would want you to help family, wouldn't she?" That phrase became the soundtrack of my life. Evelyn would want you to help family. My brother cornered me by the dessert table with a folder, an actual business plan he'd printed out. "I've been working on this app idea for months. I just need $300,000 to get it off the ground. That's nothing for you now, right?" When I said I needed time to think about everything, he got this look I'd never seen before. "Time? Sarah, I'm your brother. I've been there for you your whole life." Had he? I started running through memories and couldn't recall many instances of Jake being there for me. The party ended with my dad taking me aside for a private chat about how I needed to be smart with my money and remember that family comes first. He handed me a list, an actual written list, of relatives who could really use some help right now. Mortgage payments, college tuition, medical bills, business investments. The total came to over $2 million. The pressure cooker. Over the next month, the pressure became relentless. Family group texts where everyone shared articles about the importance of giving back. Social media posts about how blessed I was, with pointed comments about how some people really need help right now. My mom started sending me Zillow listings for houses my siblings deserved, along with guilt-inducing messages about how Grandma, Evelyn's sister, would be so disappointed if I didn't take care of everyone. Distant relatives I'd never met started friend requesting me on Facebook and sliding into my DMs with sob stories and business proposals. The worst was my cousin David, who showed up at my apartment unannounced with his 2 kids, crying about how he was going to lose his house and his children would be homeless. When I didn't immediately offer to pay his mortgage, he accused me of being selfish and forgetting where I came from. His 8-year-old daughter looked at me with confused eyes and asked why I wouldn't help her daddy when I was so rich now. I didn't sleep for 3 days after that. Legal reality check. Meanwhile, I was discovering that inheriting a massive estate isn't like winning the lottery. The legal complexities were staggering. Estate taxes alone were going to cost millions. The property needed immediate repairs and maintenance that ran into six figures. There were ongoing lawsuits from Evelyn's final years. Apparently, she'd had disputes with contractors and neighbors. Insurance, property management, staff payments, utilities for a 12-bedroom house. The monthly expenses were more than I used to make in a year. My lawyer, who thankfully seems to work for me and not my family, was blunt. You need to understand that you're not just inheriting money. You're inheriting a business. A responsibility. And right now, that business is losing money every month until you figure out how to manage it properly. He recommended a financial advisor, an estate manager, and an accountant who specialized in sudden wealth syndrome. Yes, that's a real thing. Who knew? The financial advisor's first question was, how many people are you currently supporting, and why? When I started listing my family's requests, she stopped me at $4 million and said, you'd be bankrupt within 5 years. The breaking point came when I discovered my brother had been telling people I'd already agreed to fund his business. He'd been using my name to secure meetings with investors, telling them his wealthy sister was backing the project. When confronted, he exploded. You've changed, Sarah. Money has made you selfish and paranoid. We're your family. We supported you when you had nothing, and now you can't even help us out when you have everything. I asked him to name one time he'd supported me when I had nothing. He couldn't. That same week, I found out my cousin Michelle had been giving tours of my estate to her friends, telling them it was the family property and that she was helping me manage it. She'd apparently promised her book club they could hold their next meeting in my library. And my parents sat me down for an intervention about my hoarding of the inheritance. They'd calculated how much each family member deserved based on their relationship to Aunt Evelyn and their current financial needs. They presented it like a math problem with a clear, obvious solution. Drawing the line. I realized I had to make a choice, set boundaries or watch my inheritance, and my sanity, disappear into a black hole of family expectations. First, I changed all the locks on the estate and installed a security system. I hired a property manager who would handle all maintenance requests and visitors. No more surprise tours or family meetings on my property without my explicit permission. Then came the hardest conversations of my life. I called a family meeting and laid it out plainly. I was not a lottery ticket. I was not an ATM. I was not responsible for solving everyone's financial problems just because I'd inherited money I never asked for. The estate came with massive responsibilities and expenses that they couldn't see or didn't want to acknowledge. I told them I loved them, but I wouldn't be guilted into making financial decisions that could ruin my future. I offered to help with genuine emergencies on a case-by-case basis, but I wouldn't fund business ventures, pay off debts that weren't my responsibility, or buy houses for people who hadn't bothered to maintain relationships with me before I had money. The reaction was nuclear. My brother called me a selfish bitch and said I was dead to him. My aunt accused me of dishonoring Evelyn's memory. Several relatives blocked me on social media, but not before posting vague statements about fake family and people who forget their roots. My mom cried and said she was disappointed in who I'd become. My dad said I was making a mistake I'd regret forever. The aftermath and moving forward. It's been 4 months since I set those boundaries, and I'm still dealing with the fallout. About half my extended family isn't speaking to me. Holiday invitations have dried up. The family group chat went silent after I left it. But here's the thing, I'm sleeping again. I've started working with a therapist who specializes in sudden wealth issues. I've assembled a team of professionals who help me manage the estate responsibly. I'm learning about philanthropy, conservation, and how to honor Aunt Evelyn's memory in ways that make sense, not just ways that make my family happy. I've discovered that Evelyn left detailed journals about her life, her values, and why she chose me as her heir. She wrote about wanting someone unentangled from the family's expectations and dramas to carry forward her legacy. She wanted the estate preserved, not divided up and sold off. Reading her words, I realized she chose me specifically because she knew I'd face this exact situation and hoped I'd be strong enough to handle it. I'm slowly rebuilding relationships with family members who can accept my boundaries. My youngest cousin Emma, who never asked me for anything, has become closer than ever. She was the only one who asked how I was handling everything emotionally instead of what I could do for her financially. I've also connected with a support group for people who've experienced sudden wealth. Turns out, family pressure is the most common challenge, more common than learning to manage money or dealing with lifestyle changes. It helps to talk to people who understand that just give them what they want isn't actually a solution. Looking forward. I'm working on a long-term plan for the estate that honors Evelyn's values: environmental conservation, supporting arts education, and providing scholarships for first-generation college students. I'm renovating one wing of the house to serve as a retreat space for artists and writers. I'm preserving the historical aspects while making it sustainable for the future. Some days I still can't believe this is my life. I wake up in a house that has more bathrooms than my old apartment had rooms. But I'm learning that inheriting wealth isn't just about money, it's about responsibility, legacy, and discovering who you really are when everything changes. My family might never forgive me for not being the person they wanted me to be with this inheritance. But I'm finally becoming the person Aunt Evelyn believed I could be, and maybe that's what she intended all along. The hardest lesson I've learned? Sometimes loving your family means disappointing them. And sometimes protecting your future means walking away from people who only see you as a solution to their problems. If you're dealing with something similar, please know, you don't owe anyone your financial security just because you share DNA. It's okay to say no. It's okay to set boundaries. It's okay to choose your own path, even if it's lonely at first. The guilt is real, but so is the peace that comes from making decisions based on your values instead of other people's expectations. Update: thank you all for the support and advice. To answer some common questions, yes, I've had the will validated multiple times. No, there are no legal challenges from family members. Evelyn was very thorough. Yes, I'm working with multiple professionals to ensure I'm managing everything properly. And no, I don't regret setting boundaries, even on the hardest days. For those asking about the security measures, cameras, alarm system, and a property manager who screens all visitors. Best investment I've made so far. Story 2. I used to believe dating a financially stable woman meant an easy life, but then I experienced the uncomfortable reality. From navigating societal judgments to questioning your own worth, these relationships come with a unique set of challenges you might not even realize exist. What I discovered will shock you, and it might just change your perspective entirely. The setup that changed everything. 2 years ago, I, 29M, started dating Sarah, 31F, a successful marketing director who earns about twice what I make as a graphic designer. At first, I thought I'd hit the jackpot. No more splitting every dinner bill down to the penny, no more choosing between Netflix and a night out. I genuinely believed this would be the stress-free relationship I'd always wanted. I was completely wrong. The evolving landscape hit me hard. What I didn't anticipate was how much the world has changed. In 2025, women's financial independence isn't just common, it's becoming the norm among educated professionals in my city. Sarah wasn't an exception, she was part of a growing trend that's reshaping what relationships look like. But here's the thing nobody talks about: society hasn't caught up with these changes. Traditional gender roles still lurk in the background, creating this weird tension that I wasn't prepared for. The trap narrative nearly destroyed my self-worth. About 6 months in, the comments started. My buddies would joke about me being a kept man. Sarah's friends would make passive-aggressive remarks about how lucky I was. Even strangers seemed to have opinions when Sarah would casually pick up expensive dinner tabs. The worst part? I started believing it. I began questioning everything. Was I actually contributing to this relationship, or was I just along for the ride? When Sarah surprised me with weekend trips to places I could never afford, instead of feeling grateful, I felt diminished. Like I was failing at being a man because I couldn't reciprocate on the same level. The male ego is fragile, and mine was getting battered daily. I found myself making excuses to friends about who paid for what, lying about splitting bills that Sarah had actually covered entirely. I was embarrassed, and that embarrassment was poisoning what should have been a beautiful relationship. Real-world challenges nobody warns you about. The practical stuff became a minefield. Who pays for dates? We tried alternating, but when her idea of a nice dinner cost more than my weekly grocery budget, things got awkward fast. Major purchases were even worse. She wanted to go on a European vacation that would have taken me months to save for, while she could book it without thinking twice. Communication became impossible. How do you tell someone you love that their financial generosity makes you feel inadequate without sounding ungrateful or insecure? How do you explain that you want to contribute equally when equal means vastly different things to both of you? The resentment crept in slowly. I started feeling like a charity case, and Sarah began to feel like I was rejecting her attempts to share experiences with me. We were both walking on eggshells, trying not to hurt each other's feelings while completely failing to address the elephant in the room. The breaking point and breakthrough. Everything came to a head during a fight about a concert. Sarah had bought expensive tickets to see my favorite band without asking me first. Instead of being thrilled, I exploded. I accused her of treating me like a pet, of not respecting my independence, of making me feel worthless. She broke down crying and said she just wanted to do something nice for someone she loved. She revealed that she'd been holding back on so many things she wanted to do because she was afraid of making me uncomfortable. We were both miserable, trying to protect each other from a problem we'd never properly addressed. That night, we had the most honest conversation of our relationship. The hidden benefits I almost missed. Once we started communicating openly, everything changed. I realized I'd been so focused on what I couldn't provide that I'd ignored what I was bringing to the table. My creativity, my emotional intelligence, my different perspective on life, these weren't consolation prizes. They were valuable contributions to our partnership. The financial stress I'd carried in previous relationships was gone, but I'd replaced it with ego stress, which was just as destructive. When I finally let that go, I discovered incredible benefits. We could focus on experiences rather than budgets. Instead of choosing between rent money and a weekend getaway, we could actually build memories together. The reduced financial pressure meant we could have deeper conversations about our dreams and goals rather than constantly worrying about money. Sarah's success motivated me to level up in my own career. Not to match her financially, but because being around someone ambitious made me want to pursue my own ambitions more seriously. Our relationship became a catalyst for mutual growth rather than a source of insecurity. Building something real. The key was redefining what contribution meant in our relationship. It wasn't about matching dollar amounts, it was about both of us bringing our best selves to the partnership. We established some ground rules. Complete honesty about money feelings, no matter how uncomfortable. Each person contributes what they comfortably can, not necessarily equally. Major financial decisions get discussed, even if one person is paying. We celebrate each other's successes instead of letting them create insecurity. I started contributing more in non-financial ways that actually mattered more to Sarah, cooking her favorite meals after stressful workdays, planning thoughtful date activities that didn't require big spending, being her emotional support during challenging projects. The uncomfortable truth. Here's what nobody tells you. Dating a financially stable woman isn't a trap, but your ego can be. The real trap is letting societal expectations and insecurity destroy something potentially beautiful. Sarah and I are still together, stronger than ever. I've advanced in my career partly because her success inspired me to aim higher, not because I felt pressured to keep up. We talk openly about money now, which has eliminated most of the tension that nearly broke us apart. The relationship forced me to confront some uncomfortable truths about masculinity and self-worth that I probably needed to face anyway. I had to learn that my value as a partner wasn't tied to my bank account, and that accepting generosity from someone I love doesn't make me weak or dependent. If you're considering or currently in a relationship with a financially stable woman, my advice is this: check your ego at the door and communicate relentlessly. The challenges are real, but they're not insurmountable if you're both willing to have difficult conversations and challenge traditional expectations. The world is changing, and our relationship models need to evolve too. Some of us will be pioneers in figuring out how these dynamics work, and it's not always comfortable. But the reward, a partnership based on genuine compatibility rather than financial necessity, is worth the growing pains. Would I change anything? Not a chance. But I wish someone had warned me about the real challenges so I could have navigated them more gracefully from the start. TLDR, dated a woman who earned twice my salary, nearly destroyed the relationship due to my own insecurity and societal pressure, learned that communication and redefining contribution saved us both. Edit, thanks for all the responses. To those asking, yes, Sarah knows I'm posting this and helped me edit it. We're hoping our story helps other couples navigate similar dynamics. Story 3, AITA for telling a stranger at the ATM why her transaction wasn't working? Okay Reddit, I need some perspective on this wild situation that happened to me yesterday. Still processing what went down. So I'm at the grocery store ATM trying to get some cash. There's this older lady, maybe late 50s/early 60s, in front of me who's been there for what feels like forever. I'm talking like 10+ minutes of her inserting her card, pressing buttons, getting frustrated, taking the card out, then starting all over again. This cycle repeated like 7 times. At first I'm just patiently waiting, scrolling my phone, whatever. But after watching the same routine over and over, I naturally glanced up to see what the holdup was. The ATM screen is pretty big and visible, it's not like I was trying to snoop or anything. That's when I noticed she kept trying to withdraw $2,000, but this particular ATM has a $400 daily limit, it's posted right on the machine. So from where I'm standing about 10 feet back, I call out in what I thought was a friendly tone, "Hey boo, punch in $400 or less and you'll be able to withdraw your money." Y'all. This woman lost it. Started screaming at the top of her lungs for security, yelling about how I was watching her private transaction, that she didn't feel safe, calling me an entitled bitch and all sorts of stuff. I'm just standing there like, ma'am, I was literally just trying to help you. But she kept going off. Other shoppers are staring, kids are looking scared. I finally decided to just leave because this was getting ridiculous. But then security comes running over, so I follow them back just to explain that I was trying to help her understand the withdrawal limit. The security guy was actually pretty cool about it. They didn't arrest me or anything, just let me leave. But this lady was still going on about how violated she felt. Now I'm sitting here wondering if I'm the asshole. Like, I genuinely thought I was being helpful. She was clearly frustrated and I could see the obvious problem. The dollar amount isn't hidden, it's displayed prominently on the screen for anyone nearby to see. I wasn't trying to be nosy or invasive. But maybe I crossed a line? Maybe people don't want strangers commenting on their banking, even if it's to help? I'm a 40-year-old woman and usually get along great with older ladies, but this one clearly saw me as some kind of threat. I keep going back and forth on this. On one hand, I was trying to save her time and frustration. On the other hand, maybe I should have just minded my own business even if it meant watching her struggle for another 20 minutes. What do you think, Reddit? AITA for speaking up, or was this lady completely overreacting? Edit, a lot of people are asking about the "hey boo" part. I know it might sound weird, but I'm from the South and that's just how I talk to people sometimes. It's meant to be friendly/warm, not condescending. Maybe it came across wrong? Edit 2, thanks for all the responses. Definitely getting mixed reactions, which is kind of what I expected. I think next time I'll probably just keep my mouth shut and let people figure it out themselves, even if it's painful to watch.